now joined by Hollywood guy Nando Vila. The sit-down host Mike Recine, and I think now that Nando's got these movie deals and whatnot, probably the solo host of Woke Bros.
Yes, sir.
Leaving you guys behind.
The only problem, Ben, is that I know where Nando lives, so
right.
I can just show up to his front door
with a mic and be like, "Will you record the episode with me?"
They could always it's just a pitch, so they could always act really enthusiastic and then never call him again.
Exactly.
That's most likely what's going to happen. So,
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that would happen.
Yeah. Man, that was down. All right, so
sorry.
So yeah, we're talking about season 1, episode 5. College, where Tony is taking his little girl around New England to look at colleges. This is a classic. I think people who haven't seen The Sopranos in a long time, this is probably one of the episodes they remember.
Yeah,
and
this is definitely one of the best ever.
It's definitely the one that gets the most respect in that smoke that you guys just said. That's a candle. That's not ganja. It's probably one of the most critically acclaimed episodes when serious critics of prestige TV put that critic hat on. They talk about this episode as being the one that this show sort of planted its flag we are not like any other show you have ever seen on television. And most people point to this episode for reasons that I'm sure we're about to get into.
I read online that the prestige TV critics over at TV Guide magazine called it the second greatest episode of television ever.
Fair enough. Well, I can't argue with that. Yeah, I mean, it is an iconic episode. It's the episode where you get, I think in terms of both being something that holds up really solidly, just as a standalone thing, and also in terms of the larger arc of the series, because it's all about, at least the A plot, is all about. Meadow sort of coming to terms with what her dad does for a living, and the basic tension that you get throughout the show between the fact that his actual job is that he's a gangster, and his employees report to him at a strip club, and he beats people up all the time, but also he has this very conventional family life that's really important to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and it gets back to Tony at the beginning of the season talking about he's worried about losing his family, and the duality of that statement, right? Which family is he talking about? And this show, this episode, those two strains of Tony's life just come colliding in the most just incredible way of it's Tony at his best and Tony at his worst, right? What could be better than a dad taking his daughter on college visits, doing the quality time and just, the significance of what it means to go to college and leave the nest, so to speak, and all of those things that Tony's participating in that act. And then, the shit that he does on the trip, it's incredible.
Yeah, he had a chance to ease Meadow into it, but then it was he was honest in the beginning. But then once he starts trying to kill this guy, it's kind of all bets are off.
Well, that whole arc is so tragic and sad. It was just brutal. Mm-hmm. They got inches away from forging a real relationship based on truth and honesty. And Meadow basically tells him just I'll be okay with it. I'm not gonna. I'm not I'm okay.
But we know
with
that's
it.
always a lie, Nando.
Obviously.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, it is and it isn't, but like I mean, that's the B plot. The Carmela plot is basically that's the future of Meadow. She kind of should she embrace that olive branch that Tony extends. But yeah,
right. This is like step one in future mob wife training.
right.
Yeah, and they do like really explicitly, like for a show that leaves a lot unstated. I will say this episode, they could not be more explicit about what Woz is talking about with the worlds colliding. Like there's literally
just the final scene. It's like they tell you right in the final scene, written out.
Yeah, they literally have it written down in giant letters on a wall and focus on it for like 30 seconds. What the message is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as the like it starts, we're in the A plot, and this is really like some of the other episodes. We're sort of got okay. Let's see, what was this? The C plot, the D plot, right? There's usually a lot going on. This one, there's really two things going on. So there's Tony and Meadow going around the Northeast looking at colleges, and there's Carmela back home in New Jersey with the flu, and her relationship with Father Intintola, the priest, and that's pretty much it, right? It goes back and forth between those two things as it goes on. So Carmela having the flu is why she wasn't on the trip, which is important because this means that it's just Tony and Meadow. It makes it much more intense. That they're having all of these. They're having all of these conversations that they would obviously never have if there's a third person there. And it also sets up Carmela being home alone, so she can basically come really close to banging the priest.
Yeah, it's not a fanook,
It's not a fanook.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier to go whack that guy if Carmela had been there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Instead of leaving your daughter alone at a bar with a couple, college freshmen.
Yeah.
Oh man, and I love the I love the Carmela stuff because it does set up so much about their relationship and just Carmela herself, her capacity to sort of figure out what she wants from people and go about extracting it from them, right? And then the fallout just ends up being the fallout, whether it be Tony, who, and we talked about it on previous episodes, how materialistic Carmela is and like how much she loves living in that big ass house and having servants and doing fundraisers and all of that. And her making that compromise and being like, yo, this guy's kind of a monster, and how I'm able to achieve these things that I love is through some monstrous fucking horrible things that have to happen to people. And then this relationship with the priest where it's like, it's funny to pretend that just because this guy's a priest, he won't want to get pussy is silly. It goes against like everything we know about people, right? Like, your job, this is your job tells you that you're supposed to be celibate for the rest of your life, which by the way,
how you get pussy.
Which, by the way, I want people to know this because I don't think a lot of people realize this, is that when priests take a vow to celibacy, they're not technically allowed to whack off either. Like they're just supposed to just exist.
Well, I think the funny thing about this episode, the interesting thing about this episode is, I mean, we obviously know Tony's full of shit, and that he he has this kind of conception of himself that's very different from who he actually is. He still sees himself as the Gary Cooper type when he's just a narcissistic kind of crybaby at the end of the day.
He is a crybaby.
Carmela is also full of shit, if equally, if not more than Tony, in that she's even more dishonest with herself than Tony is. And ultimately, the priest is full of shit, because the priest knows that on some level he understands, like all, I mean, I don't want to get like all fucking Richard Dawkins on it, but like, you know, the role of religion in society is to kind of uphold or cleanse or justify the certain power structures that exist. And so like he's ultimately doing that. I mean, like he's ultimately, quote unquote, kind of giving her a pass. He's not really challenging her choices in life. He's actually making, in a weird kind of tortured way, he's actually making her feel okay with the choices that she's made in her life.
Because then how can he go over to Tony's house and eat his food and enjoy his great TV and his DVD collection? Like,
drink all his wine, drink so much wine that he blacks out and vomits. Like, how much wine do you have to drink to black out and vomit? Like, how many bottles? I've drank wine with Waz, and Waz would have to drink like 12 bottles of wine before he vomits.
Yes. Maybe not vomit, but to black out. No. I'm gonna get nice and toasty, but I'm not gonna black out and vomit. I'm gonna remember everything that happened.
I don't know. I mean, I like drank like a maniac, you know, throughout like my 20s and early 30s, and I never, you know, I mean, I never blacked out, like, you know, like vomit maybe, but you know, like blackout.
Sure,
well, to the point where you're not sure if you banged, you know, like, did we fuck? Like, you know, like, you would have some vague recollection that like you fucked, you know.
Man, you just brought me back to so many memories of, like Ben just said, my early 20s of just
waking up next to someone.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord. That's, and by the way, that's a tricky question too. When two people who were very inebriated the night before, and one of the person says, "So what happened last night?" That's a tricky question.
Right. I mean, I'm not totally sure. I mean, obviously, we're skipping ahead here, but obviously, you know, Father Intintola was very drunk, no doubt about it. But like, I'm also not sure, like, because I thought with the throwing up, I wasn't totally sure if whether that was just because the alcohol or that was because Carmela gave him the flu, and I also, and then with the blacking out, like, I really wonder. Like, I think it's unclear, at least to me. Like, did he actually black out?
Or if this is a way of saying, let's put this behind us and never talk about it again. Because I did the Men in Black thing to myself. It's over. It doesn't exist.
Did this priest go to a mob boss's house to fuck his wife? Like, was that what he thought was going to happen the whole time? It's always kind of
really interesting question why he's doing that. So maybe let's you know, go a little out of order here and dive into the B plot. So at the beginning, like, you sort of see. Well, I think the first time you see Carmela is when Tony's calling her on the phone. They've just left, you know, like the first college. We'll talk about that. But they have, and she's at home with the flu. She's got an AJ, and I'm sure either she or Tony told him to do this. There's no way in hell AJ just decided on his own that he was going to make breakfast for her. That AJ's brought her breakfast in bed, and it's like
they address that. He says, like, you asked me to make you poached eggs or whatever, you know, like, and then he does, like, I mean, he's like the Tony's children are like two sides of Tony, right? Like, you know, in that Meadow is like smart and you know, savvy, and AJ is just like this unbelievable, like, when he's like complains, like, after all this work I did for you, you're not even like, she's sick, and you're complaining.
Like,
he's Livia.
What's that?
He's Livia. He's channeling Livia.
Yeah. Without the smarts, he's just a dumbass. But he is like the woe is me.
And Livia can at least cook. Like, that's like, you know, he's done like the most half-assed, like, single egg in the middle. Possibly give somebody, and she was looking at us like, the hell is this? It's like, you know, of course, you know, it's like, oh, I guess my eyes were bigger than my mouth. You know, she puts it aside, and then AJ is just sitting there sullenly, and she's like, okay, I don't want to deal with this fucking kid. You know, why don't you go over to your friend's house and play Nintendo? and he says he'll be back in an hour, which clearly even she doesn't believe because, like, the next time he calls, it's clearly been like 12 hours, and like she hasn't like checked up on him once in this time. She's whatever. He's amused. I don't want to deal with him today.
Yeah.
And then, but then later on, we see that Carmela is still clearly kind of sick, and Father Intintola comes by unexpectedly, and he's like standing out there in the rain.
By the way, such a weird move. Like, please, like, I mean, I guess maybe in the pre-cell phone days, Ben, you might remember this more than us because you're older than me. But you show up at someone's house, like,
you might.
yeah.
I mean, no, you don't. No. You don't show up at someone's house. You show up with like somebody who you're really close to. You might go to their house for sure. Like if you had a pretty good idea that they would be home, but like as a dude,
like you don't
show up to
a
married chick's house.
Yeah, that's
wanting to hang out with her. Like that's insane.
Because definitely, I remember in the 90s, people, people. Yeah, like was it like so? I'm trying to remember. Like, yeah, I mean, like in like around the time that this came out, right? Like I think, like I remember, sure, like I might go over to like a close friend's house, or they might come over to mine and like knock on the door and see if you're around, and like want to hang out or something. But like, yeah, it's very weird to do that, with like
a cold, rainy night in Jersey.
So much of
friend that's like weird. On like a lot of levels that you're just showing up unexpectedly like that because you said you had a hankering for her ziti.
So, dude, so much of this episode reminds me of my own Catholic upbringing, and it reminds me of whenever a new priest would come into the parish. There would always be this like mad dash of gossip of whether the dude was gay or not. Like, is he one of the ones that likes pussy or is he one of the other ones, right? Like, that was always like a central question. And again, it was understood that like, yeah, these dudes aren't supposed to, but they're not supposed to have sexual yearnings or desires, but they're fucking men. Right. And they will, that's why this dude is so hilarious. And the idea that Carmela wouldn't understand that this dude would absolutely attack the kitty cat if he could. Come on now.
Yeah. The whole interaction isn't really that explicit, and we're not really sure. I mean, I've seen that episode like 3 times, so they don't really make it clear.
Yeah. So and it is really interesting because like he shows up like in the middle of the pouring rain. He shows up at her doorstep, and she makes him wait while she goes and primps. Like she's clearly into him, but we've already sort of established that. And then she goes to the doorstep. He says, "Oh, he's here because like he just had a random hankering for her ziti." But he also says that he's surprised that she's there, and he knows about the college trip, but like he's at least
it's super shady.
Clear that wasn't coming. It's like, well, if you weren't clear that she wasn't coming along on the college trip, what are you doing? Right.
And then how does he know she's got ziti in the fridge? Like if
that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Some guy comes to my house and tells my wife he wants, that's going to be a problem.
Well, I
won't do anything about it, but it's gonna be I'll be very unhappy.
Like, yeah, what like had Carm not had ziti from Sunday, was she gonna make it? Like, was she just gonna make it from scratch? How long does it take to bake ziti? You're Italian, you guys know, how to bake.
Oh, it's at least an hour and a half from start to finish, maybe 2 hours.
Like a long time.
Well, especially because like there is a later episode where Uncle June describes in detail what carb ziti is like, and how she puts it together.
Lasagna, yeah.
Doesn't she put basil in there or something?
Basil leaf under the cheese. The basil leaf under the cheese. Yeah, that's and then because Janice stole Carmela's lasagna recipe.
And there's that funny moment where the priest like flops his Italian cred onto the table when he's like, "Oh, isn't it so much better after it's been like in the freezer because the mozzarella gets nice and and it's like it sounds like it's the first time that guy's ever said that word, you know?
Oh man.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in The Sopranos, the sort of like flashing around of the like, okay, what's the most Italian way that I could say this? Is kind of like what
Gabagool is my favorite.
No, I mean the funniest one in this episode, which is just it's such a funny line. I mean, when Tony's like admiring Meadow, he's like, "Look at this! This is such a smart girl. You know, we got a scholar, a scholar soprano, and so beautiful too. She could be on the cover of Italian Vogue."
Not regular Vogue.
Not regular Vogue. Like the fucking, the
offshoot.
edition. Not quite hot enough for regular Vogue. That's like for the real supermodels, but like,
sorry, keep it real here.
Which is also fire too, because Meadow's a Jewish Italian princess. I mean, Jewish American princess, excuse me. So like that's always I always like that in any sort of pop culture, like the plot to Save America, whatever fucking David Simon's HBO show was called, or the plot against America. John Turturro playing a Jewish homie is just hilarious to me. That's fucking great.
You watched that? Was that good?
Yeah, phenomenal. I thought it was amazing. I loved it.
I'm doing the McNulty and the Wire meme.
I loved it. It's not
honestly,
it's not as
you know what
good as
it
The
was?
Wire.
My problem with it is that it was lib shit. It was just like for MSNBC resistance libs. It was like the main guy in the show was like the 1930s version of a guy who was addicted to Rachel Maddow. Like I'm not exaggerating. Like
I
didn't
enjoy it for the politics of the show. I enjoyed it for the inter-Jewish commentary. I've never seen that play out in public before. Them explaining as a Jew, you realize that there are these different kinds of Jews. That's why I love the show, because I've never seen that before.
No, and like every single David Simon show has an amazing thing, which is like just unbelievable period detail and specificity, and they like nail the 1930s in that sense. But like it was just like, I get it, Lindbergh is Trump. And the real heroes are the people who listen to watch MSNBC every night and like get really mad about it.
I'm supposed to think that homie's a liberal. I mean, a hero.
The main guy.
Yeah, I thought he kind of sucked.
I mean,
as a guy,
yes, he definitely sucks.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think they meant for him to suck. I think we think he sucks because we hate those people.
Sucks, dude. That dude, he really, really sucks. If anything, the only hero is the dude who lost his leg in the war. You know what I'm saying? Like, who was like, fuck that. I'm going to go kill these guys.
Yeah, he was my fellow Jews. Bernie bro. He was the Bernie bro.
He was a Bernie bro.
The main guy literally, Ben, I'm not exaggerating. The main guy is addicted to going to the movie theater and watching newsreels and getting really mad about it, like about what's going on in the country.
It's kind of funny to think about that's what you'd have to do to be the 30s version of a MSNBC obsessive.
Right. And he's obsessed with Walter Winchell, who is every night.
Let's hear from the newsreel.
Yeah, Walter Winchell is Rachel Maddow in the current, and he like listens to Walter Winchell every night. He's like, "Can you believe what Winchell's been talking about? Like they're doing this, and that," and like he does nothing about it. Like he just does literally nothing about it other than just get really mad about it. Like it was fucking pure lib shit. Like it was very frustrating in that sense. Like there's an interesting show to be made, maybe 10 years removed from Trump, but like in the middle of Trump, it was just too on the nose for a show that took place in the 1930s. It was too like obvious that they were just like trying to do what is happening today, like it's like an allegory in the 1930s. It's just
so you guys like ziti or lasagna better?
Lasagna. Big lasagna guy. Only problem with lasagna is fucking warming that shit up the next day. It's damn near impossible. Like this
is an incredible Italian.
Whereas with
the
next day,
incredible.
Well, it's I was just curious about that, and I can see what Nando's saying because I read that book a long time ago, Plot Against America, and that was so it was published in 2004, and I think Philip Roth had actually written it like probably he'd been writing it for years before, so it might not have even been intended as a Bush analogy, although I think definitely because it came out in 2004, everybody read it as Bush analogy. So I could definitely see how the Trump stuff could map on there. Although I also think that book is kind of a lot of that book is kind of making fun of people's sort of paranoia about that. So, but
they did not capture that in the show.
So again, to reiterate, because I feel like as a Black person in America, the only sort of ethnicity that is seen as radioactive to have any kind of layered discussion about them is Jewish people. And on this show, they're doing that specifically, which I've never seen done before. The idea of having a money-grubbing Jewish character on your show and actually interrogating that trope and idea on the show fascinated me because I've never seen anything like that in culture happen. Why would I give a fuck about Trump and Nazi? That's obvious. Oh, it's bad. Duh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not interesting as entertainment, but layering the experience of Jews in America and sort of layering it against what's happening in Israel and that dual identity idea that a lot of Jews have in America. I thought that was interesting how they interrogated that. The politics of the show is trash. I mean, I don't know. I didn't expect the show to have good politics. You know what I mean?
I don't need my shows to have the correct politics. I really don't. It's just that the dramatic engine was driven by the politics, and it was lame, that was lame to me. I like right-wing shows and I like some lib shit shows. I do. But
24, great right-wing propaganda show.
Incredible. Dollar movie, the guy from Miami. Those movies are great, and they're fucking right-wing maniac shit. But if the dramatic engine is so on the nose about this is a political statement. Then I have a problem.
They're beating you over the head. Yeah, they're trying to
over the fucking
profess their ideology. Yeah, with the
I have to admit, I'm going to horrify Mike here, but I've been thinking about it for the few minutes since he answered the question, and I'm not sure I've ever had. I've definitely had lasagna. I'm not sure.
You've never had ziti?
You've had big ziti. You had.
I used to have it in school. They used to give us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's in every single cafeteria, work cafeteria, school cafeteria,
or weddings and stuff. Funerals.
Gotta have big ziti.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
I'll find a recipe for you. You can.
Hey, you do that.
We'll make it live on the.
Let's do that.
I've actually tried to cook some ingredients and stuff more because I feel weird about how much shit I eat. So I have. So you said that to me, I'll make it. But yeah, so Jamie Lynn Sigler, as Waz points out, is actually not Italian. I think she's part Greek and part Sephardic Jewish. But Tony,
who cares?
What's that?
Who cares?
Fair enough.
Mike is clearly a fan.
I'm out. I'm out on Jamie Lynn Sigler.
Wait a second.
She's not the hottest one in the show, but
I mean, of course, not even close. I mean,
is that
Adriana Server is the hottest
Adriana
chick on the history of television.
She's the sexiest. She's just the sexiest broad
what about
ever.
Gloria?
She's
is
okay.
Gloria the chick that killed herself, or the Tony ends up killing? Oh yeah, I'm into her.
Yeah,
I'm into her more than Jamie Lynn Sigler, but not.
Don't want to be rude, but she's on SVU now. Looks like two different people. I hate doing that to a woman and all of that stuff, but yeah.
Fair enough.
It's unfortunate.
So
oh, you're talking about Adriana? Or
No. Adriana looks damn good still.
Yeah, she was in Shameless.
You talking about her name's Annabella Sciorra or something.
Yeah. She's whatever. She's old. She's been around since Jungle Fever. What are you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, whatever, comes for us all. I won't look this good forever, but so at the and to back up a little bit, right? So there's a lot of good like throughout it. Like so much of this episode, the A plot is about Tony sort of awkwardly flipping back and forth from the father persona, that he wants to have. He wants he wants Meadow to to have this, to go to college, have this middle class life. He's obviously extremely protective of her, old school ways, and the gangster persona, and so you see. So like at the beginning, that first college, they look Bates College. Bates College is the first one they look at. They have Meadow makes some crack about how she heard one of the other girls there say that it was the world's most expensive form of birth control. And he's like, "Hey, what? The girls at the other colleges they just put out? Not okay."
Oh boy!
And then they're in the car, and she just asks him straight out a question that we've already established that she knows the answer to, but she wants to hear it from him. Are you in the mafia?
Yeah.
And it's crazy that the show positions Carmela and Meadow as the only people who ever stand up to this dude.
Right.
Aside from obviously his uncle.
And his mom.
And his mom.
The funny thing though is that Tony's initial reaction, I mean, this is like where David Chase like understood like the American male so perfectly, because Tony's initial reaction is to imply that Meadow is like being offensive, like she's like, I'm in waste management, everybody thinks we're mobbed up, it's offensive, like it's like he's doing identity politics for himself. That's always the initial reaction, to a completely legitimate, like, you know what I mean? Like he is 100% in the wrong. Like the default is to just, use identity politics to protect himself. The way, like, he foresaw that trend big time, 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. And there is, and he continues to do that later, like in the conversation at the restaurant where he says that, Meadow looks like she could be on the cover of Italian Vogue. He starts like, he's feeling like weird and defensive about it. Like even back in the car when she initially asked him, are you in the mafia? He's doing this thing where like, he'll say something to her and then he'll like glance back at her to see how it's playing. And he's still feeling defensive about it at the restaurant. So he's like, look, there was a time in this country when Italian people didn't have a lot of options. Yeah. And Meadow's response is, oh, you mean like Mario Cuomo?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the writing in this episode is so good. I mean, it's classic Sopranos, like where it's like everything is going on in the subtext, plus like incredibly funny lines, like just so many funny lines, they do that thing, the conversation that he has with his mistress over the phone, like she has like 2 or 3 like absolutely hilarious lines where she's like, oh, don't you throw up in my face, like that. She's trying to throw it back in my face, but she's misusing it, she says throw up in my face, like
her sister with the prosthetic leg, when came out, her sister's husband carried her out like a knight in white satin armor.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's like a perfect, like, she's heard those expressions and she's mixing them and she's bungling them. It's just like a perfect, it's just perfect writing. Like just getting everything askew and everything is happening in the subtext.
Yeah, no, and that is one of the things they're best at in the show in general, that they like. Just like all the ways, like it's the same thing when like Tony will hear, like Dr. Melfi will tell him something in therapy and he won't quite remember it, but he'll try to like bring it up when he's having like an angry conversation with Livia or with one of the other gangsters, and he'll get it like just slightly wrong, or like when they're all sitting around talking about the news and and they've all just managed to like misinterpret things just a little bit, like it's I mean, it's a small thing, but like it's like, yeah, Chase and the writers of the show are so good at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's how most people interact with the news. Like they'll hear something and then they kind of don't quite get it fully, and they'll repeat it just kind of wrong. Yeah.
No, I was just having a moment of imagining like the guys sitting around at the Bing, and for some reason there's like weekends on, and you're like, hey, you hear what Fernando Villa said?
They discover the Woke Bros podcast. And they're trying to relay information. It's funny.
Did you want to hear something funny about that, guys? So whenever I've met a bunch of people out here in LA, especially like through the person I was dating. You meet a bunch of Armenians, or you meet a bunch of like Persians, or you meet a bunch of different type of people, especially people born and raised in the Valley in LA. And a lot of them are right wingers. And so because I'm black, and I explained to them like, yeah, I do a political podcast. And they assume that I'm
you're just
liberal,
some insufferable lib,
right? Yeah. And they're like, so what do you talk about on there?
Yeah, like Dr. Seuss
and shit like
like the fucking racism of Dr. Seuss, pussy.
Yo, to a man, every single person. I'm like, no, I actually just talk about like why this is bullshit and we should be doing this. They're like, oh, okay, that's regular shit. But like, they all assume that I'm gonna get on there and talk about trans people using bathrooms and whatnot. It's so funny. That's why like. I think mob guys would enjoy hearing Nando talk about the issues that afflict the working man.
That's right. That's my target audience.
Yeah. Well, they all think they're working.
Mob guys are actually labor guys.
Exactly, big union guys.
Yeah.
It's like the Henry Hill in Goodfellas. It's like I work in construction, and his future wife is like, you don't have your hands don't seem like you're a construction worker. It's like, yeah, I'm a delegate.
Yeah. You guys know that story about a mob informant named Greg Scarpa?
No.
So in Mississippi, when those civil rights workers went missing, Greg Scarpa was a paid FBI informant, and the legend is that he went to Mississippi and he found this KKK guy, Lawrence Byrd, who owned a TV store, and he put a gun to his back, and then he brought him to a shed and like beat him for 3 days, and then he found out where the bodies were. So It's like Greg Scarpa was like this huge piece of shit, but he was apparently he was really proud of his work for the FBI when they
for the civil rights.
Yeah,
finding the civil rights workers.
Yeah, he told his daughter that he was like James Bond. He's like, I'm kind of like James Bond, honey. And all he did was just take a guy to a shed and beat him for 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that scene in the Fred Hampton movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, where like the Jesse Plemons character is telling Lakeith Stanfield is like, listen, man, I went down to the South and I went against the KKK. I'm on your team, dude.
I'd be interested like a James Bond movie where he's still like he still dresses the nice suits and he orders martinis and and all that.
He's
shit.
Getting red sauce all over his fucking clothes. He's like, damn it.
Actually does 5 parts of the movie or just like beat up some guy who's got tied up in the shed for
like entrap like a 16-year-old Muslim kid into like blowing himself up.
Yeah.
And you were real FBI.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, speaking of the FBI, as they're on this college tour, and actually speaking of Henry Hill, because I think that might be part of the inspiration for this, Tony is pretty sure he's at a gas station. That he sees this guy who he knew from a long time ago in New Jersey, who Henry Hill went into witness protection, and Henry Hill was kicked out of witness protection, for continued criminality, but did things like. I guess Hill wasn't quite this stupid, but but although Hill would do things like he'd go on the Howard Stern show to talk about his past in the mafia, but this guy would go around to colleges to give do paid speaking gigs about his life as a mafioso, and so he sees this guy and he immediately Meadow has just asked him if he's in the mafia. He kind of sort of admits it, although he hedges it, a little bit. And she's thrilled by it, right? She is more than willing to just be like, okay, even though Dad is only half telling the truth here, I'll take it because I really like the idea of could have this open, honest relationship. And so then later they're at dinner, and Meadow tells him like this thing that like the thing that Christopher was thought that he was going to be killed, for doing, selling her and Hunter drugs, that she doesn't she doesn't rat on Christopher, but she tells him that she was doing drugs, all this stuff, and he's obviously pissed about it.
She thought you'd be like, "That's okay, honey. Everybody experiments."
Yeah.
Would have been a little out of character, yeah. So,
I did the same thing when I was your age.
He goes to go to raves and dance all night on Molly.
So
You gotta be careful with the jaw; it goes crazy sometimes.
These accents are so problematic, Nando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's anti-Italian. I'm doing Italian face.
Nah, you get a pass.
Okay, thanks.
What accent did you do? I think Nando did a Detroit auto workers accent a few days ago, and I was like, "Yo, dude, where are you getting this stuff from?"
Okay, I'm curious. I got to hear it now.
I don't even remember. I honestly don't remember.
He did a
what we're talking
Midwest.
about.
He did a Midwest. It could have been Chicago. He did a Midwest accent that I personally have no access to. Like, I don't know how to do that type of thing. Like, even the Philly accent, white guy accent.
I can't do that. That's the hardest accent. That's the hardest
really?
accent.
No, it's just you kind of got to talk like this, and it's certain vowels that sound different. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. I went into a Subway one time in South Jersey, and it was just when they started toasting the sandwiches. And I asked the lady behind the counter, I'm like, oh, okay, do you toast the vegetables too with the sandwiches? And she just goes, yeah, I mean, I'll do it, but I just think that's nasty. That's freaking nasty, dude.
Yeah. No, I remember when I first encountered the Philly accent in college. I was like, "What?" Because it's like weirdly, also kind of vaguely Southern.
Jarring, right? Yeah,
yeah, it's super jarring. I was like, "What are these people?" There was like a little Philly crew at BC, and like them hearing them talk, I'm like, "What are you people?" Like I've never heard this in culture. I've never seen it in a movie.
You've never seen it in movies because people can't do it. It's too hard.
No, yeah,
it's like go phone. You start with the O.
Just want to drink beers tonight. Like I can't.
Yeah.
Scones.
We're gonna go eat some scones.
Exactly.
Just me and the boys. We're gonna go to the Starbucks and eat some scones.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, but all considered, Tony takes it okay. Like he's obviously pissed about it. He obviously doesn't feel like it's okay, honey. We all, experiment, when we're young, like that'll be wildly out of character. But relative to what you'd expect Tony to do, he takes it like remarkably okay.
Yeah.
And so this is really what Nando was talking about earlier, that like there is this opening there for them to at least seeming opening, for him to have this like much better relationship with his daughter, where based on the fact that they're both willing to be honest with each other about uncomfortable things. But there's this witness protection rat that he needs to kill. And so he starts doing all of this extremely gangsterish stuff that he obviously has to lie about, like doing all of his phone calls with Christopher from payphones.
Right. That could have been such a different story if he didn't just happen to see that guy. Like he's just opening up more and more. He's like, I looked at gay porn a couple times when I was young. I didn't like it, but it was I wanted to see what I was missing out on.
and that's the beauty of the show is so many times they take Tony to the brink of being a freaking a human. Yeah. So many times they take him to the edge of human, and then he has to become the monster that's inside. And the show Which I think that's why the show is just, to me, is my favorite show of all time, is that they're not making excuses for Tony, but a lot of the job of the show is to explain Tony as like, in another context, he could have been a decent human being, right? Yeah. Like in another context, he could have been somebody who embraces the softer side, the guy that wants to please his mom, the guy that takes his daughter to college, the guy that does all these nice things for Artie Bucco, all of those things, right? Like in a different context, but then they show you his horrible mother, the freaking sociopath of it. Like both of his parents were kind of sociopaths, but his dad more so, who was somebody who killed people for a living, you know, et cetera, et cetera. All the people he grew up around, just all of these things that made him an emotionally stunted person. Like the show, shows you like this guy's a monster, and then does the work of explaining how and why, which is just why it's just better than every other show. Like it's like they do that work of letting you know, like, yo, look at this guy's life though.
Yeah, and you see a lot of that explicitly in this episode because, of course, the issue comes up of why Tony, he had this semester and a half at Seton Hall, but why he didn't stick with college and have some kind of non-criminal, career after that. And
I think Carmela did a couple. I don't know where she went, or I don't know how long she was in college, but she went to Montclair State, and that's where I went to college too. I went for 2 years. Sorry to brag. I'm just bragging.
I gotta run, guys, but you guys go ahead. I'm bummed I can't talk about the end. I just want to say, like, very quickly, that scene that you talked about with Tony first calls Chris. This is why, like, every little detail about the show is amazing. Like, just a little bit of comic relief where Chris receives the phone call and he's like playing pool and the phone rings and he just like fucks up his shot and he throws up his hands. Like, he's like, what the fuck? He's like, his physical comedy there is just perfect, it's not even a line, it's just like, hey. Picks up the phone. All right, guys, take it easy.
All right. Yeah, good luck.
Later.
Yeah. Funny thing, by the way, so Michael Imperioli mentioned in the Talking Sopranos episode about this, that, since they mentioned that Mario Cuomo line, that he'd played Andrew Cuomo in something like
probably in like a play or something.
Okay, yeah. And so he mentioned, like, casually, it's like, oh yeah, like he hung out with Andrew Cuomo a little bit to try to like get him down for the character. And it's just,
and he harassed him. he kissed him on the lips.
Yeah. Then he grabbed my dick. It was the weirdest. It's
oh man, fucking Cuomo.
Yeah, which of course, I'm sure you've heard the. That's my favorite line of defense for Andrew Cuomo. The sexual harassment is just Italian culture defense,
bruh. The fucking Navarro lady, the GOP chick she's one of the good ones on CNN. Yeah. She was like, I saw Cuomo a bunch of times and he hugged and he kissed me and I was fine with it. I was like, yo, what are we doing with this? What are we doing with this? Like, let Cuomo come out and defend his actions. Go ahead. Like, that's on him to do. You don't have to come out and be like, oh, you don't like a guy who gets handsy? Like, what the fuck, man? Yeah. Like, that's just culture. Like, what? No, it's not.
Mike never meets anybody without kissing and falling lips. That's
Is that how Italians do, Mike?
Not in my family. I mean, maybe it's a northern thing. I don't know. We never hugged. We never hugged or kissed.
Oh, that's great.
So, and this is a really interesting thing too, because Christopher does give him the out, right? Like Christopher says, "Look, I will fly down there tomorrow, and I will kill this guy. You don't have to get your hands dirty. It would be great. I'd want it, to help me become a big guy faster." And Tony doesn't take him up on it, right? He could just preserve this college trip with his daughter, and without letting the informant, live. But he doesn't do that. He has to do it. He has to do it by himself for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's a way of demonstrating how much Tony, quote unquote, loves the game, like his love of the sport, to sound like really morbid about completely snuffing somebody's life out for no reason. I think that's what that's meant to display. It's like Tony does love a certain aspect of the life, and part of what he loves is being violent. Like he enjoys the violent imposing of his will aspect of it all. That's the bully factor of him, of just like, all right, I get to feel like powerful here. He loves feeling powerful. And I think that's what you're meant to see there. But like, no, I want to feel it myself. I want to touch it myself.
Yeah, because the show. Well, the show does this a lot, where they'll humanize somebody, and then they'll be like, and you'll like them, and you'll identify with them, and then in the next episode they'll be like, yeah, now forget about that. Here's him killing somebody with a hammer, So it's always kind of like they just represent these characters in an interesting way, I think, because it's never clear about it's almost like they're never saying this is the way it is. It's just kind of left open to your interpretation. They're never explicitly saying like, oh, but don't you feel bad for him? Don't you feel bad for Paulie? Don't you feel bad for Tony? Because you do for a second when he's like, oh, I wasn't pushed to go to school. But then, he does this.
And you know what I think is interesting too, when you listen to David Chase talk about the show and the things that he was trying to do and trying to get people to hate the protagonist because of the awful things that he does. But it's like, I hear that, but I think it's completely divorced from the reality of how we consume pop culture. People dying or getting killed is what happens in pop culture. So the idea that we would, like, of course, if somebody we know was like, yo, that person fucking killed his nephew by marriage with his bare hands, we'd all say that's horrible, right? But in the context
of course.
But in the context of a TV show, you're not always going to feel that way, particularly towards the protagonist who you spend the most time with, who's the one that's delivering most of your favorite moments on the show. So it's like this idea that we're supposed to flip on Tony for some moralistic play when he's the one delivering the best moments that this show has to offer as viewers on a consistent basis doesn't really jibe with just, because violence in culture is not violence in real life. Like violence in culture is just a part of it.
No, I think that's definitely true. I think it's also that like a lot of what seems best about the show is that it's not letting you, like, I don't know, it's not letting you watch it like you watch like normal, like dumb TV shows where you just like, it's like, oh, is this person a sympathetic character? No, now I don't like them anymore because they did something bad, like that, like it all the time. It makes you identify with Tony, you certainly see him in this very human way, this very, in many ways, very relatable way. But it also just constantly reminds you of what a sociopath he is.
Yeah. It makes me think about other characters. I mean, I know we're jumping ahead, but like Johnny Sack and the him defending his wife. And then but then I think in that same season he like chastises Tony for hitting Ralph because Ralph beat a stripper to death. He's like, Tony, let's come,
Yeah, which is the most amazing like thing that like that whole arc where all the different like gangster characters are like sitting around trying to decide if there's any way that like, what Ralph did actually violated mafia ethics. They're like, well, she wasn't as good as so that there can't be that. It's just,
yeah.
And again, the show is setting up. The show is setting up just the idea that anything can happen. You can expect the unexpected on this show. Like normally, we wouldn't do this with our main character. We wouldn't put them in these kinds of positions. This show is setting up like, yo, we're going to take this thing as far to the edge and cross the line as much as we possibly can. I mean, just snuffing out a stripper, that was a brutal freaking scene to watch, man.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And even in this episode, like when he finally does kill the informant, it's not like he shoots him or anything like that. I mean, it's like it is supposed to make you fucking uncomfortable that like he has like a piece of wire or something that he's like strangling him, with like just right up, close to him, like so intensely that it cuts into his hand. So you get that little,
From what I understand, it takes a long time to kill somebody with wire like that to crush someone's windpipe. It's not like it even takes, like one minute. It takes several minutes to kill somebody that way. Just a little fun fact from over here, from the Recine corner.
Fair enough. I like it. Get the we should get a regular flow of these, of these little, the more you know.
I'm not smart like you guys. This is what I have. I don't read books like the two of you. I just have impressions and mafia factoids.
That's a good factoid, though, man. This is good factoids to know.
Yeah.
Like Matt, you gotta think about that. So all of this is going on in the A plot, in the B plot. Carmela and Father Intintola are having their little pseudo date. Father Intintola makes a fire in the fireplace, and Carmela talks. Tony never does this, and then there's a lot of like there's a lot of them just eating and drinking and talking about movies, but also there's a lot of weird religion stuff going on in that conversation.
Yeah. I think we've all been there a couple times where you're hanging out with a woman who's out of your league, and then something you start talking, and you're like, oh yeah, you're like, yeah, we're just at her house watching her husband's DVDs, and then there's a moment where you're like, I think I'm gonna smash, and then it ruins your whole thought process, and then your brain stops working.
Sure.
Yeah, we've certainly all been there.
When you show up for the ZD, right? Yeah, right. And which is also like the fact that she is Tony Soprano's wife is also like a really weird thing throughout this sequence, because you can tell Father Intintola really doesn't want to talk about that, right? Like when like she brings up Tony, like he's generally like he'll say a little bit, but he's like, I don't know, whatever, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and man, part of me is like, how do we draw the line between flirting and religious absolution? Like how do we is a woman cooking a meal for you a form of flirting?
I mean, it certainly can be, and in this case it is.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm gonna feed you. I'm just gonna satisfy you, Father.
Yeah. It's okay. You're a man. You like to eat. That's.
I want you I want you to feel satiated, brother. Like there is a flirtatious kind of vibe happening there. That's what I love about this sort of human element of, yes, like this chick's husband would freaking actually murder me for doing this. And on Carmela's side, she loves the idea that she's the forbidden fruit, so to speak. And she's tempting this guy. This is like the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the apple.
Well, at one point in the time,
I just got that good pussy. I don't know. She's like, puts that up. That's right. I'm Tony Soprano's wife, and I have a. All right.
And also, so like there's a point in this where he like drunkenly like takes her confession and gives her communion, and there's like this thing, like even the way like the shots are framed in this episode, it's all, which makes sense because so much of it is about Tony like spying on the informant or the informant spying on Tony. Like, but like there's so much stuff that's like voyeur kind of like, like sort of like peeping Tom angles, for the shots. And that scene where he's giving her communion, I mean, like they do like a close up on her tongue, when she's taking the wafer. I mean, I think the the suggestion isn't that subtle there.
Again, it's not, but it's also fun for me, again, as somebody who went to Catholic school from grades 1 through 12, just because those environments are so puritanical as it relates to any and all subjects of sex, so anytime in culture when like Madonna's wearing a nun outfit, like a virgin type of situation, anytime people can, be subversive when talking about religion, particularly with the sexual stuff, I'm going to get a chuckle out of it because I know so many people are scandalized by that idea. And David Chase, he's freaking Italian. I'm sure he grew up Catholic too and understands that. And so I'm always amused by the hypers, like not even hyper, but any sexualization of the religious tropes. Like you even see it in porn with like this one chick, Mia Khalifa, because back at the height of we're fear mongering about brown people from the Middle East.
Yeah.
This brown woman came out as a porn chick where it was, like it was at the height of sort of stigmatizing and stereotyping Muslim people as hyper repressive towards women, and they make women wear these outfits where you can't even see anything but their eyes and X, Y, and Z. And the porn industry, if they're gonna do anything, they're gonna do taboo. Like if they're gonna do nothing else, they're gonna do taboo. And I remember that girl coming out; she got pretty famous doing it. But yeah, this is, to me, that's in the same vein as this, conflating sex and religion.
Yeah, I can see that, and it's also interesting. So there's a point in there where the Bible passages that Carmela is asking him about, like this, because also connecting back to the A-plot, to a relationship, with Tony, that she really doesn't like the sun sets on the righteous and the wicked, just the same, or, the thing about like whores getting into heaven, or, anything like that, because like, despite the fact that she's living like, she's living off of what she understands to be like pure evil, like she's still, what she wants from religion is like straightforward moral judgment, and like just telling her, what's right and what's wrong, and that, that you'll be rewarded for right and punished for wrong. Anything that complicates that, she really doesn't like it. Although there's also that weird thing that ties back into, all of the heavy flirting and almost kissing just before Father Intintola, runs to the bathroom to puke, where she, like, they have this weird moment where she's like, "Father, I had no idea you looked," like
yeah.
Sort of pretended to think that like he doesn't think that
God, it's so good. It's so good. And in the moment, like when you first watching it, it's so, the tension is, it's a great way to build tension. This sort of will she, won't she, because again, the layering of the religious aspect on, will this woman step out of on her husband, makes it that much better. A regular show would have just had it be, one of her PTA meeting buddies, or she's on some neighborhood watch thing or something like that, and whatever. Or he would have been like Furio, but not somebody who works for Tony. Actually, just a young hot dude. Like The Sopranos knows to layer that sort of cheating, stepping outside your marriage thing with something even more sinister and fun, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And then also the last thing that should probably mention about the I mean, yeah, the religious conversations are like sort of weird and fascinating, like the way that like it sort of seems like it's like the way the book that he's giving her like is this thing about like world religions and Buddhism and Islam and stuff, and it seems like kind of a weird thing for the Catholic priest to be giving her, but like it also I don't know. Like, I think it sort of contributes to him not seeming like he's really all that serious.
Yeah, and he's meant to be seen as a liberal Catholic priest. And a lot of people won't know this, but there are sort of two, like with anything else, there's a spectrum of how dogmatic a Catholic priest or bishop or archbishop or what do you call the fucking cardinal can be, right? Like there's like literally like a spectrum of how fucking reactionary or liberal these guys are. And I think this guy's meant to be seen as a hip and happening Catholic priest for sure. And if you're in that mold, you'll definitely be the one that's quoting Buddha or Confucius, right? Like that's definitely, but again, that's attention to detail. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of Catholic priests are just like, yo, if you jerk off, you're going to hell. Straight up. You do anything sexual outside of marriage, you're going to hell, you know. And then there's guys like this dude who's, you know, who
clearly jacks off.
150%.
At least, yeah. He watches classic films and beats off.
And doesn't waste a lot of time afterwards, like, you know, being penitent, you know, about like, you know, each session. So yeah. Yeah, no, that seems totally right. And there's also the whole thing where they're talking. So the last big thing here, because it's going to connect back up at the very end, which, you know, we're almost done. But is that Dr. Melfi calls because she also has the flu that's going around, and once, you know, Melfi calls to reschedule Tony's appointment on Monday because she's sick, and Carmela is pissed off because Tony was lying and pretending like his therapist was a dude, and so of course Carmela, you know, not completely unreasonably, you know, jumps to the conclusion, hey, Tony's lying about a woman. In my experience, that usually means that he's banging her.
Fucking her, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then like after that, they have this conversation that it's again one of these things that like you sort of see how full of shit the priest is because he sort of says the thing which like Carmela has said before in almost the same words. She probably gets it from him. You know, it's like, oh, well, therapy is a good step, but that doesn't address the soul. And she's like, hey, well, maybe you could talk to him, Father. He was like, well, you know.
I don't want to get my hands. I don't want to actually do anything to help. Are you kidding me? Like, you want me to get my hands dirty? No, thank you.
Talk to your gangster husband about religion. Are you crazy?
Right. That's not how our relationship works. I pat you on the ass and tell you everything you want to hear, and I move on with my life. We don't do any difficult work here. I come here and eat ziti. Like, I come here and get chicken parm. I don't do work here. Sorry, lady. No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So as the A plot wraps up, Tony has killed the informant, and it's super obvious to Meadow that he's lying to her about this. Right? He's got this like half-baked story about how he left his watch at a hotel, but like, you know, there's mud on his shoes, his hand is bleeding from, you know, the wire. Like, it could not be more obvious that, you know, he wasn't just going back to get his watch, that he just did some violence. You know, she'd have to be an idiot not to see that. So she presses him a little bit, and then there's this moment where she sort of realizes, okay, well, I mean, actually, it's incredibly sad to watch, you know, because it's like, oh, we're obviously not going to have this open, honest relationship because my father is a gangster, and there's no way, like, you know, he might like admit it in general terms, but I mean, there's no way in hell he's going to like be honest about the details of what he's doing.
Yeah. It's kind of similar to that episode at the funeral when AJ kind of starts to realize that he's being lied to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because Meadow is such a like, her role in this series is a lot, oftentimes, to confront Tony. like to get him to actually deal with reality and truth. And she's often speaking truth to power on this show. And yeah, they're just like, and again, she just looks at everybody as completely being full of shit. Like the idea, like one, all right, what you guys said earlier in the show when we jumped ahead about us having a true, actual relationship with each other where we can be open and honest with each other. And you know what? You might be a mass murderer and a sociopath, but at least I can say you're my mass murderer and sociopath. But if you can't even do me the respect of being upfront and honest with me, then it's over. And then, in later episodes, we're going to see Carmela trying to moralize and be like, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. And it's like, bitch, you can't tell me shit. You married to Tony Soprano, motherfucker. Right. Like, who are you? And so, it sets up Meadow's relationship with both of them down the road. Because you can't sort of separate Tony's horrible life behavior, who he is, from Carmela being complicit in all of it, as his mate.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. That's, yeah. So which is actually really funny because like there's an episode later on in the show where, after like both, like there are various, like not just Father Intintola, but there's like I think like an African priest you talk to later on in the show at some point who kind of gives her, like the same soft, spiel. There's a episode later in the show where she has a session with this like old Jewish psychiatrist who's like, yeah, what do you want? I mean, obviously Tony's extremely evil and like you're complicit in it. Like if you feel bad about that, maybe stop doing it,
Right.
She just can't handle it. It's like, wait, what? Like,
right. He's like, I don't take blood money. Sorry.
Yeah, we're supposed to pay for the sessions. I'm not taking that. Which is, just that, which it really actually is also something that when that happens, that really reveals just how bullshitty all of Carmela's qualms about the life are, because like she wants to feel good about herself. And so she goes through these phases of like feeling guilty about being a mob wife.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody actually just like puts it to her starkly. It's like, okay, well, if you actually feel bad about it, stop being a mob wife. Like this is,
and that's it. And that's it. And it's like, yes, we get it. It'd be tough for you to start all over and do all of that. Like, at a certain point, Carmela definitely has agency. I don't think it would be the end of the world for her to find her own way and do whatever she wants in life, but she ain't trying to give it up ever.
No, definitely not. So at the very Tony and Meadow have that moment where Meadow realizes like, okay, like she just sort of has to come to peace with the fact that he's going to lie to her about any specific gangster shit that he does, and so then they go to one last college, and Meadow has her interview. Her admissions interview, and then he's sitting there. He sees the giant Nathaniel Hawthorne quote on the wall about the man who shows one face to himself, and one's the multitude, and how he's going to come to ruin. If he does that, we take a beat, on that very explicit statement of what's going on in the episode and in the show, and then Tony and Meadow come back to New Jersey. Meadow, like the ungrateful shit that she is, just sort of barely says hi to Carmela and goes upstairs. And then, not that like, whatever. I mean, Meadow is obviously like, clearly a much better human being than like AJ or somebody, but I mean, she's a teenager, I mean, she's going to do stuff like that. And she's also gone through this whole thing with her dad. And then in the very end, Carmela is giving Tony shit, or Tony is giving Carmela shit about Father Intintola, and he was here all night and he just slipped you a wafer. And, so he's really like enjoying like doing that, and then Carmela turns the tables on him and be like, "Hey, your doctor called. She's a woman, I know." And then like so the last thing, it's like actually kind of funny as a Sopranos episode. It seems like they don't usually do this for like the end of the episodes. It's almost like an old style, like it's almost like a different kind of TV show that like they do like the comic relief episode, end in with Tony trailing behind Carmela, being like, "Come, I'm sorry. I thought you never got reaction. What are you about this?"
Yeah, I thought it was a dope end to the episode, obviously. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, just a dope ride. Just so many, so many dope storytelling tricks and tropes of like explaining this family, this this nuclear family, explaining this nuclear family via the stories of the interpersonal workings and just like showing their own internal struggles, the issues that they have with each other. Like they do so many dope storytelling tricks in this episode. And then of course, again, Tony being a ruthless bastard, even on college visit with his daughter. That's the statement that everybody left out of the show was like, wow, this is different.
Well, but was he going to get the chance to do that again? I guess he knew where the guy lived, right? I guess it had to be taken care of right away.
Yeah, I mean, his excuse for why it had to be taken care of right away was that
he could lamb.
Yeah, that he thought that maybe the guy had seen him at the gas station, and so like, yeah, I mean, he might just split. So whether that's actually why he did it, or whether it's kind of like Waz was saying earlier that he just like he just enjoys the violence, or like somehow because like in this case because he's avenging people who knew who this guy put away, that it's just gonna be more satisfying if he does it. Like it really did seem like, come on, like you could have waited a day and had Christopher do it for you.
Yeah.
So last thoughts.
Sick episode. Watch it.
Yeah.
I hope the Patreons watch it.
There's a lot of YouTube. There's some YouTube video too that kind of breaks this down. And I meant to watch it. I just didn't have time today. But they said that like there's some video where they talk about how this episode kind of changed television.
Facts.
Which I would be curious to check out.
Well, I can, yeah, and I think also, yeah. Well, I think it for sure did. I think certainly like it helped like for a lot of better TV shows later. The Sopranos definitely had a mold, and then like even in terms of what Waz was saying about how we react differently to seeing fictional killings, that's definitely true. But I mean, I also wonder like when this came out, like I mean, this is something they were raising in that Talking Sopranos episode. Like, this might be like the first example of the main character, like a TV show, of an American TV show where the main character is just cold-bloodedly killing somebody on camera. Like it's not like a cop
self-defense
show,
or anything. Yeah.
Or whatever, but it's just like actually engaged in this, like in this case, really grisly murder, with the wire.
For sure. Yeah. I'm gonna check out that YouTube video.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I always really enjoy this.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. See you guys.
All right, see you, Ben.